Okay, today I have a very interesting subject. And this subject we are going to study is on Revelation chapter 18. It's a large subject as it was with the sealing program. Sealing program had a large subject. You cannot just cover with one lesson. You have to bring a lot of lessons to make sure the subject is covered properly. And also Revelation 18 is a very large subject. You have to dwell on it with different texts, different chapters, different contexts, all pointing to Revelation 18. Yeah? So today we're going to study it and understand it. Before we start, let's go to Great Controversy. Great Controversy, page 390. Start on the second paragraph. We want to hear.
Revelation 18 points to the time when, as the result of rejecting the threefold warning of Revelation 14:6-12, the church will have fully reached the condition foretold by the second angel and the people of God still in Babylon.
Right. Now, when you want to understand this topic here, Revelation 18, you should identify who is this angel talking to. Yeah? Yes. There is a tendency that if you do not understand which person is being referred by Revelation 18, you can go off topic. Because Revelation 18 will call and say, come out of here, my people, come out of Babylon, isn't it? Many people have referred Revelation 18 to outside churches. But these outside churches, one thing you should know is they rejected the first angel's message. Huh? They rejected the first angel's message. Did they go to the second? Did they go to the third angel's message? Who preached the first angel's message? And Revelation chapter 18 is an angel coming, a mighty one. For example, let's read from Revelation chapter 18, verse 1, and hear this mighty angel.
Verse 1. Mm-hmm. And after these things,
right,
I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory.
Right.
And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying,
did you hear that terminology? The earth was lightened with his glory. Did you hear any other angels? Go to the first angel's message, Revelation 14. Verse 6 and 7. Yeah.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. Was the
earth lightened with his glory? Right? To the second angel, which is on verse 8. Verse 8.
And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen,
right?
Is fallen,
right?
That great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Do you see? Was this one lightening the earth? Actually was announcing the fall of the earth. Yeah? And there were churches who had protested against the church which was in dark ages, which was changing times and laws, isn't it? And we know these churches that protested were one, the first reformer was Luther, isn't it? And we had a Lutheran church. Righteousness by faith, isn't it? And the second one was John Knox with the Presbyterian church, isn't it? These are Protestant churches. Yeah? What was his message? The Holy Spirit. That's why Presbyterian churches dwell on the Holy Spirit. And the third angel was these two brothers, the Wesley brothers, John and Charles Wesley, who were introducing the church of the Methodist Church, which is there until now. They were protesting. These are Protestant churches. And the fourth one was Campbell. What was his doctrine? Baptism by immersion. Because the church which was changing times and laws wasn't immersing in water, isn't it? Yeah, it was sprinkling or some of the things, but was introducing that the baptism was actually supposed to be by immersion. The two Wesley brothers who formed the Methodist Church, what was their doctrine? Grace. Righteousness by grace. We are saved by grace. We are saved by grace, isn't it? And righteousness by faith was Luther. You understand? These four churches, these are the main four churches which protested against the changings of the times and laws and everything. And when they are there, we see a fifth reformer who was William Miller. Huh? William Miller, what was his gospel? On Daniel 8, verse 13 to 14. Unto 2000 shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And was announcing the coming of Christ. And was timing 1844. When Christ entered the Holy of Holies, instead William Miller thought it was the coming of Christ on earth, preached to these four churches to prepare for the Advent or for the coming. Advent is coming. You understand? For the coming of Christ in 1844, after reading Daniel 8, verse 13 to 14. And his group was called the First Day Adventists. Do you understand? Because they were still keeping the first day, which is Sunday, but believing in the Advent, which is coming of Christ. Do you understand? You go to Great Controversy, you would find the First Day Adventists were there. The Reformation is all there in the Great Controversy. You understand? And while Miller was preaching to these four churches, he was actually preaching the first angel's message, which is in Revelation 14, verse 6 to 7. He says, what does he say?
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven,
right?
having the everlasting gospel,
right?
to preach unto them that dwell on the earth,
right?
and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people,
right?
saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come,
right?
and worship him that made heaven and earth and sea and the fountains of waters.
Do you see? That was the first angel's message. It's Revelation 14, verse 6 to 7. The first angel's message. You understand? And then the second angel's message was the very William Miller on verse 8. Why? Because these four churches rejected the message of the coming of Christ in 1844. You understand? And William Miller preached, was raised from 1833. And then they were timing the coming of Christ in 1844. The timing was correct, counting from 457 BC to 1844. The event was not correct. The event was the entering of Christ into the Holy of Holies. But he said it was the coming of Christ to take the saints on earth, which was a wrong event. But the coming of Christ, the coming of Christ into the third heavens. You understand? Huh? From the third heavens, to the first heavens. That's why you see in Daniel chapter 7, in verse 13, Christ coming from, read it, 7, verse 13.
Verse 13.
Yes.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him.
Do you see? He came by clouds. So William Miller knew he was going to come by clouds, but not to the earth, but to the Holy of Holies, from the third heavens to the first heaven. Yeah? Where do I get the first and third heaven? Paul says about it. That he was carried to the third heavens, where Christ was on the right hand of God, isn't it? But when he was carried by clouds to the first heavens, where is Christ? In front of the Ancient of Days. He's not on the right. He is in front of it's a throne only set for the earth. But in the third heavens, it is a throne set for the whole universe, for the earth and the 12 planets everywhere. But when they want to eradicate the sin, they had to go to the first heavens, which is in the Holy of Holies, which is a temporal throne set for the earth only, planet Earth. Because we know we have 12 planets. 11 didn't air. It's only planet Earth which had sin. So it has to have its own throne, which was set in 1844. We saw it. This is fundamental beliefs, isn't it? Now, so we know that the entering, William Miller being the fifth reformer, I said the first reformer, Luther, second, John Knox, third, the Wesley brothers, Charles and John Wesley, and fourth, Campbell with the Baptist Church, isn't it? Now the fifth is William Miller with the First Day Adventist, which is the first angel's message on Revelation 14, verse 6 to 7. And the same Miller, because his message was rejected, preached the second angel's message, which is Revelation 14, verse 8, which says, Babylon is fallen. But we see Sister White telling us that the same angel, which is Revelation 14, verse 8, is a second angel's message, isn't it? Will come again. When is it again? After the third angel's message. After the third angel's message. Now, this is, Sister White preached the third angel's message, which is in verse 9. You understand? Now, if you do not understand the timing of Revelation 18, you get it all wrong. Like these four first churches have been told by William Miller that Babylon is fallen. What was he saying? You have rejected the First Day Adventist message of the coming of Christ. So you also have fallen. How did they fall? By rejecting the message. But then Revelation 18 is also saying the same terminology like Revelation 14 verse 8. It's also saying Babylon is fallen for the second time. You understand? Yes. Revelation 18 obviously is not saying it in the time of Miller. When William Miller said Babylon is fallen, what was he meaning? To these Protestants, that they have rejected his message of the coming of Christ. Is it what he meant? Yes. But Revelation 18 is not repeating what Miller was pointing to. No. Miller pointed to the four churches. Yes. Now these four churches are fallen since Miller preached. You understand? So, but Revelation 18 is now talking to another four again. Yes. Is it still talking about the four which fell? No. So you have to know how to identify these messages. If you do not identify them, you will fall with the message. It's about timing of the messages. The timing of the first angel's message was for these protesting churches. Yeah? Yes. And do you know, before William Miller preached to them the coming of Christ in 1844, they were upright. Yeah. They had not fallen. When did they fall? After rejecting a message. A heaven-sent message from William Miller for the coming of Christ. What was Miller inspired to do? To preach to them, to say, Babylon is fallen in verse 8. You should know how to identify these angels' messages. Yeah? Now, Sister White preached the third angel's message on verse 9, right? Let's go to verse 9.
Verse 9. Mm-hmm. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, right, and receive his mark in his forehead, or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation.
Right. Do you see that these 4 churches were reforming against the church which changed the times and laws in the Dark Ages. William Miller is also a reformer coming after them. Yeah? To prepare these churches for the coming of Christ. Or for the entering of Christ in the Holy of Holies, which was the actual event, isn't it? Now, Sister White is raised also to warn everybody, including William Miller, the First Day Adventist. Why? Because they were still keeping First Day. Do you understand? Yeah. And also, what else had been changed by that the church they were reforming against in Dark Ages? What else had been changed? Read from Daniel chapter 7, good news. Daniel 7, verse 25. What had been changed? It's not only the Sabbath only which had been changed. Something else had been changed.
Verse 25.
Right?
He will speak against the supreme God.
Right?
And oppress God's people.
Right?
He will try to change their religious laws and festivals.
What also had been changed? The Sabbath was changed. The religious feasts were changed. Which are the religious feasts? Passover, Pentecost, Day of Atonement, Tabernacles. That's why the echo is there these days to say, which date are you going for the Tabernacles? This is a message from Sister White which says, if any man worship the beast, because the beast had changed these times. Amen. People are not foolish by saying, which date? Same as people who say, which day are you going to church? They are not foolish. It's the same echo. It's the same message from Sister White. If any man worship the beast. She is raised to follow William Miller, being the 6th angel in the chronology from Martin Luther. Chronologically, she is the 6th. Amen. But in the angel's messages from Revelation 14, she is the 3rd angel's message. You should understand that. Yes. Now, being the 3rd angel's message, isn't it? We know most of us have not gone to the 4th and the 5th. But listen to the next quote for us to identify where Revelation 18 is directing his message. Go to Revelation, to Great Controversy, page 390, 2nd paragraph. Let's read from there. It's a long paragraph, but let's listen to it.
GC 390, paragraph 2.
Mm-hmm.
Revelation 18
right?
Points to the time.
Right. If you can raise your voice, I will understand. Uh-huh.
Revelation 18
right?
Points to the time when, as the result of rejecting the threefold warning of Revelation 14,
Hang on. Revelation 14 gave us the threefold messages. Yes. The first angel's message by William Miller. Yes. The second angel's message by William Miller. Yes. The third angel's message by Ellen White. Amen. Huh? Now repeat what you have read.
Revelation 18
right?
Points to the time when, as the result of rejecting the threefold warning of Revelation 14, verse 6 to 12.
Right. Now, the churches, the 4 churches I told you, rejected William Miller's message. What was William Miller's message? The first angel. Mm-hmm. Have they rejected the threefold? No. Huh? No. They only rejected the first, and they were told they were Babylon straight away. Mm-hmm. Huh? Yes. But who rejected all them 3? It's not those ones. It's someone who came after Miller. Yes. It's someone who came after the first angel's message. The first angel's message by William Miller was preparing those 4 churches for the coming of Christ in 1844. And they were told by Revelation 14, verse 8, they've fallen. But when does the Revelation 18 come? It only comes after the next 2 more, after the first. The first angel's message, the second, and the third. After these 3 had been rejected, Then Revelation 18 points to whoever is upright. Not those who are fallen already. Whoever is still upright, that we also have fallen. Do you understand Revelation 18? It's not me, it's Sister White saying Revelation 18 points to the time when, as a result of rejecting the 3 messages, not the time they rejected the first angel, they fell. From 1833 to 1844, they fell. That's why William Miller told them they've fallen. They've never been upright. They never came back to be upright. But there is one which continued to be upright.
True.
The one which accepted these other 2 is upright. But when also it's being tested by God and rejects like what these other 4 did, it also falls. Huh?
Yes.
Because there's no one who's going to enter heaven without being tested.
Yes.
You can call yourself as a people upright, but God has to come to test whether you're upright. Like he did test when the first time Christ came. He tested his own people and they rejected him. So they fell. So there's no one who qualifies not to be tested. Huh? Revelation 18, the spirit of prophecy says, comes as a result of rejecting these other 3. Those outside, leave them alone. They rejected from the first angel's message. They are done already. But there is one who continued with the other 3 messages. As a result of rejecting after these 3 messages, somebody who rejects will also fall. Let's see. We want the spirit of prophecy to say, not us, but the book of our church to say. While we explain, while we understand what the book is saying. Yeah? Not to take it to what we think, no, we can never be Babylon, we can never. Then you want to twist all the scriptures to mean that you are not fallible, you are not tested at all. No, everybody is going to be tested. Yeah. Yes. Even Christ himself, when he came on earth, was tested. The devil tested him. Yeah? Everybody is going to be tested. There's nobody who is never going to be tested. The other ones, Lutheran, they were upright when they say, the just shall live by faith. Isn't it? Upright. And John Knox, Presbyterian, they were what? Upright. The one preached by Charles Wesley and John Wesley, upright. And Campbell, upright. But there came a time where they were tested by the first angel's message, by William Miller. And did they accept the heaven-sent message of the Advent movement? Did they accept it? So this next angel of Revelation 14 verse 8 followed and said, fallen Babylon. We agree they did. Fall by rejecting a message. But did we as a people also fall? Did we also accept the 80 John message and work on? Did we not fall? We understand we fall. When these 4 became Babylon by falling, what about the one who falls at last? He becomes what? Huh? Did you do mathematics? Algebra. 1a plus 2b equals, huh? You don't know. This is an algebraic expression. You don't know how to say, if the people of Noah rejected Noah's message and deserved to die of the flood, and the people living in the last day reject a heaven-sent message again, like Noah's one, these ones are infallible. Huh? The people of Lot rejected coming out of Sodom, including Lot's wife herself. And they were destroyed in Sodom and Gomorrah. What about the people living in the last day? And if they reject a heaven-sent message, we have proof in black and white that A.T. John's message was rejected. What was it? Galatians 3, verse 24.
Wherefore, the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ,
Right?
that we might be justified by faith.
Right. Is that the topic that A.T. Jones brought? Of the law, which was the schoolmaster? Now, when that law was preached to our brethren who were there in 1888, right? They said the law which is a schoolmaster is only the moral law. But A.T. John said, no, it's the moral and the ceremonial, which are the feasts. Yeah? Now, when the argument was, our brethren wanted to continue only with the moral law without the ceremonial law. Like we also want to continue now with the moral without the feast. It's the ceremonial law, isn't it? Now they had to go to the prophet. Fortunately, there was a prophet, isn't it? And in first selected messages, book 1, page 233.
I'm asked concerning the law in Galatians.
Right?
What law is the schoolmaster to bring us to Christ?
Right?
I answer. Both the ceremonial and the moral code of the Ten Commandments.
So did Sister White endorse A.T. Jones and Wagoner's message of both the moral and the ceremonial to be kept by us?
Amen.
But was it accepted?
No.
It was as clear as William Miller's message, which William Miller sent to these 4 churches, that Christ is coming in 1844, Advent message. Was it accepted?
No.
Now go to next 234, the same book 1, 234, selected messages, 234, where the paragraph it says an unwillingness. It was not accepted. Yeah. 0.6. 234.6, yeah?
An unwillingness
Right.
to build up preconceived opinions and to accept this truth lay at the foundation of a large share of the opposition manifested at Minneapolis against the Lord's message through brethren E.J. Wagner and A.T. Jones.
Do you see? If there was an unwillingness to lay aside preconceived ideas, so does it mean they accepted the message at Minneapolis? It was at a conference when the message came.
Yeah.
Did they accept that message?
No.
So are we together to say that message was rejected?
Yes.
1888 message was rejected at Minneapolis conference.
True.
Did these 4 churches reject William Miller's message?
Yes.
And did the next coming one, when the third angel, threefold,
Yes.
did they accept A.T. John's message?
No.
You know, it's very funny when someone is drunk. Do you know one thing he does not want to be told? That you are drunk. But he's drunk. Same as those who fall. They don't want to be told they have fallen. Do you think these ones accepted they are fallen?
No.
When William Miller says to them, you are fallen, did they say, oh, yeah, we accept we are fallen? Did they say that?
No.
That's why we still have them. Yeah? But even ourselves who are being tested, did we fall?
Yes.
1888, did we fall?
Yes.
But we were given another leeway to continue, because the prophet which was there said, even if you have rejected it, but it will still come before Christ comes. To fall for, we want to know, did we actually, after, it says when it came with A.T. Jones and Mwegona, it was ridiculed,
Yes.
spoken against, scorned, and rejected. The spirit of prophet says so. And when it comes, before Christ comes, it will be ridiculed, scorned, spoken against, and rejected. Sister White said it. If you read on the whole paragraph there, it will tell you exactly that this was a light coming to the church to put this light into a loud cry. Now, listen, go further. Go further. What was the effect of that moral law and ceremonial law? If it was accepted, what was it going to do? An unwillingness, then go further.
By exciting that opposition,
right?
Satan succeeded in shutting away from our people, in a great measure, the special power of the Holy Spirit that God longed to impart to them.
God was longing to empower that special latter rain. What is it that he is longing to empower? The latter rain. He wanted it to be a powerful movement with both the moral and ceremonial law. It's a special power. And what else was he going to do with that?
The enemy prevented them from obtaining that efficiency,
right,
which might have been theirs in carrying the truth to the world.
Do you see the loud cry? Do you see this light that we saw in Revelation chapter 18, which says, when the angel of Revelation came, the whole world was full of that light. This is the light.
The enemy prevented them from obtaining that efficiency, which might have been theirs in carrying the truth to the world.
Right?
As the apostles proclaimed it after the day of Pentecost.
This is why God has to have a sealing program and seal the 144,000. Those who will carry this light throughout the whole world.
Amen.
So you and I have to strive by all means to enter into this number. Preach the Sabbath. They will preach the whole Sabbath, moral law, and ceremonial law, as it was being brought by A.T. Jones and Wagona. Now, we have proof enough we fell. Did we fall?
Yes.
We have proof enough we did. If those who fell at first, they were named Babylon. And those who fall at last, what are they named?
Babylon.
Huh? Wait. Now, the thing is that you think Revelation 18 is coming outside there. You know, outside, William Miller did all that outside. Now there is someone coming inside. We want proof that he's coming inside.
Amen.
Go to early writings, page 277. That's the very same angel.
I saw angels
right,
running to and fro in heaven, descending to the earth, and again ascending to heaven, preparing for the fulfillment of some important event. Then I saw another mighty angel commissioned to the earth to unite his voice with the third angel.
Now, this mighty angel, the only mighty angel we saw when we were reading the angels at first, is Revelation 18.
Yes.
We said William Miller, Revelation 14, verse 6 to 7, was no expression of a mighty angel.
No.
Revelation 14, verse 8 was just fallen Babylon. There was no mighty angel. Revelation 14, verse 9 was just, if any man worship the beast, Sister White's message, isn't it? There was no mighty angel there. The only mighty angel, read Revelation 18, is he the mighty angel?
Verse 1.
Yeah?
And after these things,
Right?
I saw another angel come down from heaven,
Right?
having great power,
Right.
and the earth was lightened with his glory.
This is a mighty angel. Now go to early writing, page 277. We want to hear, is it the same angel?
I saw angels running to and fro in heaven,
Right?
descending to the earth and again ascending to heaven,
Right?
preparing for the fulfillment of some important event.
Right?
Then I saw another mighty angel.
Is it the
commissioned
mighty angel which is Revelation 18? Commissioned,
to
yes?
descend to the earth,
Yes.
to unite his voice with the third angel.
Where did that angel go? Where did the angel go? Did the angel go to the first angel which was proclaiming to the Protestant churches? Did the angel go to the second angel's message in Revelation 14, verse 8?
No.
Did the angel go to the third angel?
Yes.
Amen.
So why do? Why do? It's clear. It's clear. It's only that, you know what? What makes people angry is when somebody is drunk, cannot be called you are a drunkard. He will beat you like anything. It's a painful word to be told you have fallen. It's very painful. But we have to go by the scripture. The scripture says what? Another mighty angel was commissioned to join the third. Where is the third? Huh? Read on.
Yeah. The light which attended this angel penetrated everywhere. And he cried, as he cried mightily with a strong voice, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become...
Did you hear that this light penetrated everywhere?
Yes.
Huh? Did Revelation 18 say a mighty angel and the whole world was full of...
Yes.
Is it the angel with the William Miller?
No.
Is it with the Sister White?
No.
It's another angel coming. Right? Read on.
The message of the fall of Babylon,
Right?
as given by the second angel,
Right?
is repeated.
Do you see that this now, the falling of Babylon is repeating what William Miller did to the four angels, for the four Protestants.
Churches.
But now he's coming with power to another class of people which continue to be upright. Which received the threefold messages. Huh?
The message of the fall of Babylon.
Yeah.
Sorry, the message of the fall of Babylon,
Right.
as given by the second angel,
Right.
is repeated with additional mention of the corruptions which have been entering the churches since 1844.
Yeah. This message went to the third to mention the additions of corruptions entering since 1844. Hey, 1844, those four were already down.
Wait for it.
Who was upright from 1844? Are we being told there were corruptions continuing to go in the church from 1844? That's why Revelation 18 comes at last. Right? Read properly. And when you hear expressions where Sister White say, do not call the church Babylon ever. Did you understand that? Where does Sister White come? We have William Miller. We have John Knox. We have Charles and John Wesley. We have Campbell. We have William Miller. This one was Martin Luther. Now we have William Miller, which was the first angel's message. And we have the second angel's message, fallen Babylon to the four churches. And we have the third angel's message, which she is now starting after running away from those who had fallen from William Miller's message. And she was now the upright one. You understand? And when you are starting something upright, you can't call it Babylon. You have to wait until that upright one falls. Then you say it is fallen. But when it is being built and is still upright, and before it had rejected any message before 1888, you cannot call that church Babylon. You have to wait until it falls. Yeah? You have to wait until it falls. Then you say, it's fallen. It's like a child going to school. You have just started Form 1. Or we call it Year 11, isn't it? Year 7. You started Year 7. Would anyone come and say, how are you a daft and dunderhead person? Would you? Or in Shona we call Dofo. Morning Dofo when he's starting school. Can you say Dofo? Someone starting school. When do you call that person Dofo? After the results and show them several use. Then you say morning Dofo. So Sister White was 100% correct to say, do not call it Dofo. It hasn't written a test. It hasn't failed.
Yes.
Don't call it Babylon ever. And you're actually saying it's not even God who has given you that message. Huh? It's because she was still starting.
Yeah.
But we will hear what she actually said after the end, after the 1888 message had been rejected. Did she actually utter the same saying, don't? We will hear what she said. Right, we'll finish with that one.
The work of this angel
Yeah.
comes in at the right time to
Do
join
you
the
know-
last great work of the third angel's message.
When does Revelation 18 come? At the right time. What for? To join the other.
Angel's message.
Right.
As it swells into a love.
So it means it is an extra light. It is the fourth angel that we are rejecting. We have the third angel's message. But the fourth and the fifth we don't have. This is the Revelation 18.
Amen.
Revelation 18 is not Revelation, is not the first angel's message. It's not the second. It's not the third. It's the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
That's Revelation 18. The very 5 angels' messages that we are being urged to get on, not to finish with 3 angels' message. We have to go to the 4th and the 5th. The other day we identified who was the 4th angel. We had the 5th angel. We did, isn't it? We had the stem of Jesse, isn't it? Which had these 3. Huh?
Yes.
And we had, there shall come a road out of the stem of Jesse. We had the road message, which was the Davidians. And next, what did we have? We had the branch message, which was the family tree is now grown. Complete. Now, which one then is Revelation 18? It's the branch message.
Amen.
Coming to tell those who were in the stem.
Yes.
Threefold messages. Yeah? That you are fallen. Huh? Did you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand well? If you still go back to the video of the new name of Christ, and you find these 3 phases. These 3 phases, the stem, which is all 3 messages, William Miller and Sister White. And then we had the road, which is Isaiah 11, which I'm doing. There shall come forth a road out of the stem of Jesse, and the branch shall come. These are the 3 phases. Now we have the stem, which had Sister White and William Miller. And then what do we have? We have the road, which are the Davidians. Do we have them, those terminologies within us?
Yes.
They are not outside there. They are within our Sabbath keeping. Yeah? And then we have the branch within our Sabbath keeping. These are all the stages that are in the family tree.
Amen.
And the Revelation 18 is this last phase. That's what, repeat that one.
The work of this angel comes in at the right time.
Right?
To join in the last great work of the third
Is
angel's
it the
message.
last? So if it is the last, is it the stem?
No.
Is it the rod?
No.
It is the branch. That's the last. Coming to say, that's why you will hear someone from the stem say, don't call us.
Yes.
Yeah? Someone who has just got this one, the stem. Say, don't call us Babylon. Because that's what Sister White said. Yeah? And someone also in the road will say, don't call Babylon. Yeah? Who will say Babylon? This one. The last phase will say, now it's fallen. That's what he says. It comes right at the right time to say, fallen, Babylon.
Amen.
That's the timing of Revelation 18. If you attack it when you are still with these messages, the stem only, you will never understand it. Or we're in the road only, you will never understand it. You have to be in the last phase, the branch phase.
Amen.
Huh? Did you say branch? Who is called branch? It's the final name of Christ. We want to see. Go to Zechariah chapter 6, verse 12. Is it the final name of Christ?
And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch,
Right?
and he shall grow out of his place,
Right.
and he shall build the temple of the Lord.
Do you see that name is in capitals? Yes. It's a divine name. It's not like anything that we name it and whatever, what I've named funny things about it. No. Take what the Bible says. Yeah? It's a man whose name is the branch. But we want Sister White to tell us what time is that divine and who is it among the divine beings. Go to Great Controversy, page 415.3.
The work of Christ,
Right?
as man's intercessor,
Do you
is
see?
presented.
Who is the man's intercessor? Christ. Is that presented where?
In that beautiful prophecy of Zechariah,
Yeah?
concerning him, whose name is the branch.
Who is called the branch?
It's Christ.
Concerning him whose name is the branch. What is it? It's his work as man's intercessor. What is he being called as he is doing that work? The branch. He says you have to call that name freely because it is like music in God's ears. We saw a quotation. We say that. It gives you confidence, that name. Why? Because people have said all funny things about that name. It's the devil. Cannot sit idle and watch you get that last name. Because it's a seal. So he makes people scared to say just the name of Christ in the last phase is called branch. Now, who now takes hold of Revelation 18? What is Revelation 18? It's the branch message. Coming to tell everyone that you have fallen if you have not taken the twofold messages of 80 Jones and Wegona, of the moral and the ceremonial, of the 10 Commandments and the feasts. You are fallen. We want to see from the past, when Abraham, our father, left the heir of the Chaldeans. These were not feast keepers, heir of the Chaldeans. They were not feast keepers. Huh? And his father, Terah, was an idol worshipper. But Abraham wanted to keep the law of God and the feasts. The feasts are called statutes, isn't it? Yeah? Why did God take Abraham out of the heir of Chaldean to keep the statutes, to keep the feasts? Go to Genesis chapter 26, verse 5.
Verse 5.
Uh-huh.
Because that Abraham
You see,
obeyed my voice.
it's a sentence starting with because. Why did God take him out of heir of Chaldeans? Because,
that
right?
Abraham
Yeah?
obeyed my voice.
Right?
And kept my charge.
Kept my charge, my
my
commandments,
statutes,
my
and my
feasts. Do you see why he was loved by God? Why he was taken from? Where is the heir of Chaldean? Is it Babylon? Is it where Babylon was? Do you see our father, Abraham, our grandfather is Terah, was a Babylonian. Did you see that?
Yes.
Did you see? Terah was a Babylonian.
Yes.
Our father Abraham left Babylon because of keeping feasts and commandments.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
And did you see the seed of Israel when they stayed in Egypt, sorry. Why did God take them out of Egypt? Did you see them being given what were they given on Mount Sinai? Go to Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 13. What were they given?
Verse 13. Thou camest down
Right?
also upon Mount Sinai,
Yeah?
and spakest with them from heaven,
Right?
and gavest them
What?
right judgments,
Judgments,
and true laws,
true laws,
good statutes,
feasts,
and commandments.
and commandments. Were they given the feasts at Mount Sinai?
Yes.
And the commandments?
Yes.
Was Abraham given feasts and commandments from the heir of the Chaldeans?
Yes.
Were the Israelites given the same gospel from Egypt?
Yes. Amen.
Yeah?
Yes.
I said we're talking about Revelation 18. Before we talk about the nitty-gritty of Revelation 18, we are researching to find the timing of this message.
Yes.
We just don't take it anyhow as if it's coming to the stem or it's coming to the road. It comes at the last phase, the branch.
Amen.
It's Revelation 14, verse 9, which is third angel's message. Is it a movement? Was it a movement what Sister White started?
Yes.
Or what about William Miller, the first angel's message? Was it a movement?
Yes.
Was it Lutheran? Was it a movement?
Yes.
Or John Knox with the Presbyterian? Was it a movement?
Yes.
Or the Wesley Brothers? Was it a movement? And was Campbell with a movement? Now, Revelation 18, what is it? What is it called? Branch movement. It's a branch movement.
Amen.
Why do movements you have to stop with Sister White when the angels are still there? If it was third angel with a movement, the first angel with a movement, and the other angels with the movement, and what about Revelation 18? A movement. But if you are in the movement of the previous angels, you will never understand the movement in Revelation 18.
No.
Only those in that movement will understand.
Amen.
Like it was with William Miller. Only those who accepted the first day Adventist message of the coming of Christ saw how fallen these other four were. And also those who went with the third angel's message in Revelation 14 verse 9 saw how fallen those are. And then it has got to be the one who precedes into the next movement who will see how the previous movement has fallen. Otherwise, you can't argue when we are still with those. You can't go to this for protesting, to argue with them and tell them we are Babylon, and you spend the whole day they are trying to tell you how they are not Babylon, how they are not. And the same thing, if you are approaching the one who falls last is even worse off. Because we will argue, we are not. We are Laodicea, as if Laodicea is a good name. Laodicea is even worse than Babylon. Because Laodicea is ready to be spilled. Neither hot nor cold. Would you use such a water? Which is not cold. You are thirsty, you need cold water. And you want tea. It is cold, it's still warm. It's lukewarm. You can't use it for anything. You can't even bath. When you bath, you need hot water so you can dilute it as you go along. But this one is already something else. You can't, it's even worse off than the name Babylon. So let's not give alternative names, which are even more embarrassing. You understand? The only person who knows who has fallen is that one who remained upright.
Amen.
Have you fallen down on the floor? Do you know anything when you are lying there? No. All you want is someone to wake you up there.
Yeah.
But the one who says, someone has fallen is someone who is still upright. Huh? Abraham was called out of Ur of the Chaldeans when they were not keeping the feast in the Ur of the Chaldeans. They were not keeping the commandments and these two laws in the Ur of the Chaldeans. So, the Israelites were called out of Egypt. What was the purpose? For them to keep the commandments and the statutes. Why are you being called? Eh? Why are you being called? Because I have a call. I'm going to train this. I have a call. What call? Why are you being called? If you are not being called like the call of Abraham, I don't know who is calling, because the calling of God is calling like Abraham's call. Yeah? Or the call of Moses. The very first thing at Mount Sinai, on the third month when they're out, on the feast of Pentecost. That was the day of Pentecost, that one. It was the third month, the day of Pentecost. He was on Mount Sinai, being given the feast and these laws, like what Nehemiah said. Nehemiah 9, verse 13 says, he was given right judgments, true laws, statutes, and commandments on the day of Pentecost, on Mount Sinai, third month. If you don't know, don't know that was the third month, you will find it in Exodus chapter 19 and read the whole chapter. It was the third month. And which time in the third month could God call? Has he got appointed times?
Yes.
Did you see what he did when he started the church in 1844? It was not any day. It was the Day of Atonement, 22 October, 1844. Not any time. Now, on the third month, there is the Feast of Pentecost. When can he say the 10 Commandments? Of course, he stayed for 40 days, but that was the third month. So they had to pass through the Day of Pentecost. Moses was on Mount Sinai. Huh? And that's why he says, you shall keep this. And he mentions even the dates. Because these are his special times of talking to us.
Amen.
Yeah? It's got times. When a doctor gives you time for appointment, would you just go anytime? They'll just say, oh, sorry, it's not your time. I've got another patient with this time. You can't just walk in anytime. Is he careless more than a doctor?
No.
He's got appointed times, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why it's called the Sabbath. It's an appointed time. You can't just take any day and then you start worshiping him and say, and that is my Sabbath. He's got to have his Sabbath. Same, you have to have his camp meeting. His, because he's the one, he actually says, unto the Lord. You have to make the camp meeting unto the Lord. Ndiitire mtambo, hausi wako ndio wa Mwari. It's God's mtambo.
Yes. Amen. Sure.
So you have to find the date of his mtambo.
Yes.
On appointment.
Amen.
If you pull any day and say this one, you just watch you. Watch you. Especially when you know the truth. Just watch you. Because it's the devil who argues with him. And the devil, when he says Sabbath, he says another day. And when he says camp meeting, he says another day. Like he did on Daniel 7, verse 25, changed times and laws. So that he has also his days, while God has his days. And God now sent a third angel's message with a warning. If any man worship the beast, it should be a vast message which is in our head.
Yeah. Before
Before we go in any dates that we devise with our conveniences. Back to our introductory GC 390. It's still introduction. You see, we'll have weeks and weeks of talking about Revelation 18. It has got to be a very vast topic. Not overnight. So now you understand there are threefold messages. And Revelation 4:18 is another on top of the three angels. Huh? Now Revelation 18 start
On GC 390.
point 2.
Revelation 18 points to the time when, as the resulting of rejecting the threefold warning of Revelation chapter 14, verse 6 to 12.
So we have chapter 14, verse 6 to 12. These are the three angels' message. But they do not comprise Revelation 18. Now, so Revelation 18 comes after the three angels' messages.
Yes.
Right.
Revelation 18 points to the time when, as the resulting of rejecting the threefold warning of Revelation 14, verse 6 to 12, the church will have fully reached the condition foretold by the second angel.
Did you see what Sister White is saying? That's why initially you would say, don't call it Babylon. Don't call the church Babylon. But Revelation 18 will have, will be said at the time when there is when the church has fully reached the condition that is said in Revelation 18. What condition was it in Revelation 18? If you read it, how then God is saying they've fallen. There is a lot of bad conditions. When those conditions have been reached fully, then Revelation 18 is released by the scroll.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Isn't it being released to the... Let me ask you one question. Where does the sealing start? In the house of God. And then later goes outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, where does the Revelation 18 start?
To the house of God.
In the house of God. We were told by early writing 277. It goes where the third angel is. Where is the third angel? In the house of God. And later, where does it go? To the world. So do not start Revelation 18 with the world. There is no message which starts outside. It all starts in and goes out. When the Israelites were coming out of Babylon, yeah, they were being called to keep the moral law and the what for? So that they also educate those outside. So that the whole world should have those laws.
Yes.
They were supposed to educate outside when the time came for them. That's why when Christ came the first time, the gospel was concentrated in the Jewish nation. Yeah? It did not go outside to the Gentiles. When the time came for that gospel to go outside to the Gentiles, they had closed their probation. So initially now, this message is in our house of God.
Amen.
And when it's finished in the house of God, where does it go? Out. That's how the message is from God. Their system, that they follow that system. Huh? They don't start out coming in. No, they start in, coming out. Sealing first here, then out. Now, when you are sealed, we have 144,000 coming from, they are going to be sealed in the church, isn't it? So what happens to those who are not? You were told that the sealing program is these two laws, isn't it? That's what Selected Messages, Volume 1, page 233 said about A.T. John's message. That when they accepted that message, they were going to be given the time to spread that message where? Out. Yeah? So what message were they bringing? It was a sealing message, which were going to be allowed to spread also that sealing message where to? To the world. Do you get that? So those who are sealed, we can see in Ezekiel chapter 9, those who are instructed to come, the angels are instructed to come in to those who have been sealed, isn't it? And he said, come not near anyone with a seal. But what was happening to those without a seal? Slaughter. Why? Because they had assumed Babylon. Huh?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
once you don't have a seal, what name do you want?
There's no
Is there any better name when you don't have a seal? You can be called anything, isn't it? So why fun? He said, start with the ancient men in front. That's what he said. Right? Why? They rejected the seal. Yeah? Now when it comes, Sister White said, when it comes at last, yeah, it will be rejected, scorned, but it will be accepted by others. The 144,000 will get on it to it. There will be people who are sealed, who will seal with the lamp on Mount Zion, with the seal of God, isn't it? What is it that they have? They have the seal of everything that was being rejected. Huh? They get what was being rejected by the majority. Huh?
Yeah.
Because if you and I believe that we are still commingled, wheat and tares, so the wheat will get the seal. The tares will get the name Babylon. Once you don't have a seal, would you have a choice of what name you want? So why worry about this name? Why worry about this name? But the thing we should worry is that there are systems that are making you become Babylon. These are the systems we have to sigh and cry. What system? Of rejecting the moral and the ceremonial law. Because Abraham accepted the feast, the ceremonial law and the law, and the moral law, and was told to leave Babylon, the heir of Chaldeans. And he said when they were in Egypt, they were called out and given on Mount Sinai the laws, the ceremonial and the what? And the 10 Commandments. To be a special people in the land of Canaan. And when they stayed in the land of Canaan, when they rejected the statutes, is it what they did?
Yes.
They rejected. What did God do?
Cast them out.
Send them out. Send them out of Israel. And where is the Israel? I told you in previous lessons. Israel are the 10 tribes.
Yes.
Are they in Israel right now?
No.
They were scattered all over. Ezekiel chapter 36 says it. They are not there. There is the 2 tribes, which is Judah. Yeah? You understand? Now, I told you, yeah? I'll tell you more about these. These were types. But we should know that in antitype. Yeah? Now, let's finish this quotation first. So, Revelation chapter 14, verse 6 to 12, the 3 angels' messages are not Revelation 18. Revelation 18 comes after them. But where to? To the church.
This message is the last that will ever be given to the world. And it will accomplish its work.
Right.
When those that believed not the truth, but had pleasure and righteousness, shall be left to receive strong delusion and to believe a lie.
Right.
Then the light of truth will shine upon all whose hearts are open to receive it.
Right.
And all the children of the Lord that remain in Babylon will heed the call.
Right.
Of every people.
So there is a place where there is a condition. When the sealing program is occurring, there is a place where they have assumed the name Babylon. Huh? Those who receive Revelation 18, what does Revelation 18 say? It says, this Babylon is fallen. You have to know who is fallen. If you receive, it means knowing who. If you say that person is not when he is fallen, that's how you will be left out without the truth. Huh? So it means it's a truth on its own of identifying Babylon is fallen. And identifying who Babylon is.
Amen.
Huh?
Yes.
And identifying what constitutes the falling so that you don't fall. And those who have accepted Revelation 18 will receive the light and shine.
Amen.
But those who sheltered the fallen one, we won't shine. Huh?
Yes.
Now I want you to understand another quotation. GC, Great Controversy, page 606.
That's the message of the third angel will be proclaimed.
Do you hear? We now understand that paragraph. Because we have been told that this message of Babylon is fallen is not with the first angel, is not with the second, is with the third. So if it only says third, it's nothing to do with those 4 which fell in 1833. It's to do with the one who remained upright. That's the message. Yeah?
That's the message of the third angel will
Yeah.
be proclaimed.
Right?
As the time comes for it to be given with greatest power.
Do you see the third is Revelation 14 verse 9. It's Sister White. It will be proclaimed. And it is a time when it will be proclaimed with great power.
The Lord will work through humble instruments.
But who is God going to use? Humble instruments.
Leading the minds of those who consecrate themselves to his service.
Those who consecrate themselves to God are going to be allowed to proclaim Revelation 18.
The laborers will be qualified
Right?
rather by the action of his spirit
Right.
than by the training of literary institutions.
They are not trained by literal. The laborers won't be. Don't ever mention any institution to me. Because in the last days, who is training is God himself with the unction of the Spirit. What is the unction of the Spirit? Is the spirit of prophecy. What is the unction of the Spirit? Is the prophet in the church in the last days. That's the unction. If you believe there's no prophet, then the unction of the Spirit also you won't hear. You have go to the literal institutions. That's where you can train everything, whatever. Let's see whether you get the point.
Men of faith and prayer will be constrained to go forth with.
Do you see the training? These are men of faith and prayer. Yeah?
Yes.
Will be constrained to go forth with holy zeal.
You see?
Declaring the words which God gives them.
Right.
The sins of Babylon will be laid.
When they are preaching in the third angel's message, when it has come with great power, men of faith, not even trained with institutions, but with God himself. You understand? And how does God train with this unction of the Spirit? He uses a prophet.
Amen.
What they will proclaim is this. Repeat that last sentence.
Men of faith and prayer will be constrained to go forth with holy zeal.
Right?
Declaring the words which God gives them.
Right.
The sins of Babylon will
Right.
be laid open.
And this is where they are now preaching about Revelation 18. Because it's the only angel which is talking in the last days about Babylon. Because we saw Revelation 14 verse 8, which is the second angel's message, which Miller was proclaiming to those churches about Babylon. But in the last days, we have Revelation 18 talking about Babylon. But who is going to proclaim that message? Not those trained with literary institutions, but those by the unction of the Spirit of God.
Amen.
Will proclaim that message about Babylon. What?
The fearful results
Right.
of enforcing
Right.
the observances of the church by civil authority.
Right?
The inroads to spiritualism.
Right?
The stealthy but rapid progress of papal power.
Right.
All will be unmasked.
Everything will be unmasked so we can know what is happening behind the doors.
By this solemn warning,
By this solemn
the
warning,
people will be stirred.
the people who are listening will be stirred.
Thousands upon thousands
Thousands upon thousands
will listen.
will listen.
Who have never heard words like this.
Where do they listen? WhatsApp, internet, everywhere they will listen. What am I hearing here? Thousands upon thousands.
In amazement.
In amazement, what?
hear.
There is a greatest thing that is amazing. That proves they are preaching the Revelation 18 message of Babylon. What is it? In amazement.
They hear the
They
testimony.
hear the testimony.
That Babylon is
Babylon
the church.
is them. Is it not amazing? What is amazing? Because when we talk, do you think these four churches were not amazed?
They were amazed.
When William Miller told them you are Babylon, that was amazement. And now the other one which continues, is not going to be amazed. Because sometimes we were thinking I'm the one, I'm in amazement. Then somebody tells you are Babylon. Revelation 18 is an addition message which comes in the last days.
Amen.
It's a branch message. It's the last call of mercy. Right?
In amazement,
Right.
they hear the testimony that Babylon is the church.
Yeah.
Fallen because of her errors and sins.
Do you see? What makes somebody fall? Errors and sins. And what?
Because of her rejection of the truth sent to her from heaven.
What makes somebody fall? Rejection of truth. Was the truth rejected? Yes. First in 1888. Now, is it being accepted? No. Not at all. And the proof is that you are having wrong dates. Though you have the correct day of the Sabbath, but you have the wrong days of other feasts. Even the tabernacle, wrong days. It's not being accepted, man. It's not being accepted. All this constitutes Babylon. And do you know what? The other nations which were not Israel, had nothing to do with the name Babylon. You know that?
Yeah.
Because already they were Babylon, so it doesn't. It's not fascinating to be called. What is it? But the person in the Bible who is being called Babylon at a point is the Israelites. First, Abraham, our grandfather Terah, Babylon, and Abraham was a Babylonian. Only to keep the feast, he dropped the name Babylon, and now he was in Canaan. Yeah? And his seed went to Egypt. Why in Egypt? Because it's not Babylon. Egypt is not Babylon, is it? It's not Babylon. But it was Egypt, meaning it's just in the world also, isn't it? And when they are called to keep the feast. And they are in the land, they are keeping the feast. They are keeping the feast. When they stopped keeping the feast, Babylon, 70 years. 70 years Babylon. And when their 70 years is finished, they came back, some of them. Isn't it? And what are they doing? Some of them. It's only the 2 tribes which came back. The 10 tribes were scattered all over. Ezekiel 36 says that. They are scattered. They are only going to be collected back when the kingdom starts. They are not there. They are not there. Who are they? The 2 tribes and who? And the Gentiles. Did you hear Revelation chapter 11 say, let the Gentile trade the nation? You go there, you work for visas, you automatically, after your visas, you naturalize, isn't it? And then you are called Israel, isn't it? This is how things happen in every way, isn't it? You naturalize, you assume, but you mean you are, in some places they will call, no. What is actually your country of nativity? Because they know you have assumed, isn't it? So that's what is happening. Revelation 11 says so. Let the Gentiles trade the holy city. So they are part of the 2 tribes of Judah. And some are Gentiles who have assumed visas. What is it? Revelation 11, verse 2.
Verse 2. But the court which is without the temple, leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread underfoot 40 and 2 months.
So, where are they? They are allowed. They are allowed by God. God allowed them. They tread the Gentiles who tread the holy city. Yeah? Yeah. But the sealing program will bring the 12 tribes of Israel. The 144,000 come from the 12 tribes. What will they be sealed with? The 2 laws from Abraham. Abraham had 2 laws, and the Israelites were out and given those 2 laws, moral and ceremonial, stay in the land. When they started to leave them, let's see the verse which leaves them. Go to Ezekiel chapter 20. That's the verse that shows why they were taken out. Chapter 20. Or even if you want to go to the cheapest one, Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 18. That's the straightforward one.
Verse 18.
Verse 18.
Wherefore?
Verse 17. Verse 17.
Son of man.
When
When the house of Israel dwelt in their own land,
they
defiled it by their own way,
right?
And by their doings.
Right?
Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman.
Do you see how it appears to God? When you are not keeping the feast. What is it?
Wherefore, I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon my land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. And I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries, according to their way.
Are they
according
there?
to their doings I judged them.
Are they, the house of Israel is the 10 tribes? Are they there in Israel? They were scattered. It's God who says so. And then?
And when they entered unto the heathen, whither they went,
right?
They profaned my holy name.
Right.
When they say to them, these are the people of the Lord, and are gone forth out of his land.
Yeah.
But I had pity for my holy name's sake,
right?
Which the house of Israel profaned among the heathen whither they went.
Right.
Therefore, say unto the house of Israel, thus saith the Lord God,
right?
I do not do this for your
So
sakes.
we understand they were scattered all over in all the countries. And when they want to worship God, they just do whatever. They are not, the real crime of breaking the statutes, they are not doing it. They are not solving it, isn't it? So that's why they continued to profane God even in the Gentiles. Right? Uh-huh.
But I pity for my holy name's sake,
Right.
which the house of Israel profaned among the heathen whither they went.
Yes.
Therefore, say unto the house of Israel,
Right?
thus says the Lord God,
Right.
I do not do this for your
I
sakes,
don't do this for yourself
or for the house of Israel,
or for the house of
but
Israel,
for my holy name's sake,
but for his holy name's
which
sake.
ye have profaned among the heathen whither ye went.
Right?
And I will sanctify my great name,
Yeah.
which was profaned among them,
Right.
among the heathen,
Mhm.
which ye have profaned in the midst of them.
Mm.
And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord, said the Lord God.
What is he going to
Wherefore,
do?
I
Uh-huh.
shall be sanctified in you before
Uh-huh.
their eyes.
What is he going to do? Right?
For I will take you from among the
I
heathen,
will now remove you from there
and gather you out of all countries,
and all over where I had dispersed you
and bring you into your own land.
back. Is it not the kingdom being started? Where they are brought to where? In their
Own
land.
land.
Not in heaven yet. No, why are you in a hurry to go to heaven before even all these things have happened? Uh-huh.
For I will take you from among the heathen,
Mm.
and gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land.
Right?
Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you,
Yeah?
and ye shall be clean.
Right.
From all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you.
Right?
A new heart also will I give you,
Right?
and a new spirit will I put within you.
Right?
And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I'll give you the heart of flesh.
Right.
And I'll put my spirit within you,
Right.
and cause you
To
walk
walk
in my
in the
statutes,
feasts.
and ye shall keep my
You see, they will
statutes
keep
and
the
do them.
feast. When they have been taken back to the country, to their country, their own land, what will they have? The Spirit of God. And what happens? They keep the statutes. They keep the feasts. Is it not the crime? Is it not the crime that they were taken out for?
It is.
It says so in Ezekiel 20. They walked not in my statutes. Started from verse 1. 20 verse.
And it came to pass in the 7th year,
Right?
in the 5th month, the 10th day of the month,
Right?
that certain of the elders of Israel.
So do you know the 50th month is the month of Av? And don't tell me the 50th month is the May. No, it is Av. Uh-huh.
And it came to pass in the 7th.
Someone was saying we keep the 7th month of our country in Tungwisa. You have to keep what is in the Bible, not in Tungwisa or in Johannesburg or in whatever. It should be what has been designed in the Bible. When the Bible says 50th month, you have to check which one. Sister White advises us to use the Jewish calendar in Patriarchs and Prophets, page 537. It says when it is in the Jewish system. When Christ came, he didn't come to Johannesburg or Stungisa or whatever you call. Why? He came stationary to where the calendar is. Yes. He came where the calendar of the Bible is, so that there is no confusion. Yes. And you take your own 7th month or your own 8th month or whatever from wherever, then you get lost. This is the reason why the beast changed these times, so that you get lost.
Yeah.
Verse 10. Wherefore I caused them to go forth out of the land of Egypt.
Right. Uh-huh.
And brought them into the wilderness.
Right.
And I gave them my statutes.
What you see, when they were being taken from Egypt, they now were given the design why he took them out, isn't it? Why did he take them out? Uh-huh.
Wherefore I caused them to go forth out of the land of Egypt.
Right.
And brought them into the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave them my statutes.
Right.
And shewed them my judgments.
Right.
Which if a man do,
If you do, that's
He shall
present
live in
tense.
them.
You will be blessed in that.
Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign
Right.
between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord that sanctify them.
Right.
But the house of Israel
Rebelled.
against me in the wilderness.
Right.
They walked not in my statutes.
This is the reason why they had to be sent for 70 years to Babylon. So you see, who in the Bible has been going in and out, changing status or changing his passport? Who was changing passport? One time he's a Babylonian, and next time he's a Canaanian. And the chalded Babylonian. And when they do not keep the statutes, Babylon. When they keep the statutes, Canaan. You understand? In and out. Who has been doing that in and out thing? Who has assumed to be Israel now? You, spiritual Israel, isn't it? What are you also doing? Like your forefathers. In, out, in, Babylon, Babylon, church, spiritual. You know, when Sister White started in 1844, don't call this church Babylon. Because we're now ready to receive A.T. John's message.
Amen.
And we were now Canaanians, isn't it? Yes. Now when A.T. John's and message of 1888 came with the statutes, ceremonial law and moral law, and we rejected it, where did we go? Like our forefathers, in and out, in and out. You cannot do that to heathen. Heathens, they don't even understand what you are talking about. You don't understand what you are talking about. It's the very house of Israel which were doing that in and out of Babylon. That's why we have our type. It's a type, and we are in the antitype. We are fulfilling the antitype. In the type, they went to 70 years to Babylon. Huh? And they were staying in Israel. You understand? Now, in the antitype after that, after the Christian church was instituted, we see Babylonian captivity, isn't it? Dark Ages, that's Babylonian. Huh? Was church captured into Babylon? Yes. And then that becomes a prototype. What is a prototype? Something that has a type and also is a type of another. So what is our type then? Is the Babylonian captivity, is the Dark Ages. Yes. Now in our time now after 1844, we have also our Dark Ages. Where the church also goes into what? Babylon. But then we now emerge as 144,000 being sealed to receive the what? The seal of God. Are they still Babylonians? They are Canaanians. And where should they go? To the kingdom being established in Jerusalem. Do you see that's the prophecy which we are fulfilling? Now this today serves only as an introduction. We will go into now Revelation 18 when we meet next time. We start now with Revelation 18 in detail, in its fullness. May God bless this study.